What is it that we are meant to actually do?
The right thing is not always the easy thing.
There is a starting over. There is a forgiveness you can receive.
You came up with a certain point here.
It's a whole nother topic.
I knew that I believed in God. I didn't know what God to believe in.
Welcome to the World Gone Mad.
Sarah Albright, thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it. Glad you've made the trip all the way from a totally different area, and you're here with us now, and that's awesome. But I wanted to get you in the studio here today because of a couple things that you've told me before, and I think that our Mad Hatters will find a benefit with. And one of those things is regarding a recent trip that you took to New Orleans, and you encountered something that just kind of, God got a hold of your heart and began reshaping it, and just kind of broke you there. Can you share with us how that all took place?
I went down to New Orleans, I think my seventh trip, we'll say seventh, and I got to work with this family in their house, and they were members of the church, and it was a mother, and then she had, 5 kids, various ages, spanning from this 6-year-old Precious, this little girl named Precious, all the way up to a son who was at the time my age. And I just spent the day with this little girl named Precious, and the Lord just captured my heart in that moment and was like, look at everything you have, and everything that this little girl doesn't have, and how blessed you are. And
so in that, give us the contrast between what you had during that time and what this little girl did not have. Paint a picture for us.
Well, we went to have a tea party, and she went to her refrigerator and opened it, and the only thing in there was this bottle of wine and a piece of fake Kraft cheese, that weird cheese that you put on your sandwiches. And so we went and had this tea party with this piece of cheese, and we used cutlery that was on the ground from her tea set outside, and we cut it up and ate it. And she was just so happy to share that with me. And I thought, oh my gosh, I brought 10 bags of chips and granola bars and all this crap, and this little girl has a piece of cheese to eat. And I'm going to go home to a school. I go to Huntington University, and I'm going to go home to a school and be completely comfortable and not even have to worry about what I'm going to eat, how I'm going to stay warm, because at the time it was winter, and even though it was New Orleans, it was still cold. And I just was filled with all these blessings that I completely took for granted. And so when I came back home, I was just on fire for God. And I was like, I want to change my life. I don't even want to be in school right now. I want to go do stuff, but I'm going to stay in school because at the time, I was not that radical of a person, and all these ideas were great. And
what ideas did you have?
Well, I did want to potentially raise money or somehow support this little girl, send her money for food, her family money for food. I don't know. It was so long ago, but basically I was just really struck by this little girl, Precious. And so I rallied my floor together, and we raised money and stuff, and it ended up going to actually a program here called Boomerang Backpacks that Leo Club over at Prairie Heights does. So, it did go to a good cause, but I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of disappointed looking back at that because I didn't really act on the passion that God put on my heart, and it just kind of fizzled away. And actually, I ended up falling into a pretty dark place just because I came back that summer and talked to Toby, and I was like, I don't feel God here. And
wait a minute. You fell into a dark place because you came back home and you talked to me.
Yeah.
That's
no.
what you just said.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I fell into a dark place and I was like, oh, I'll go talk to Toby because I pretty much made you my mentor after we went on that New Orleans trip.
That was awesome, that trip.
That was a great trip. That is probably one of my favorite trips, I will note. Out of the 7 times I've been down there, our trip was one of the best.
You know, there's different times in your life where you laugh so hard, your belly aches, your body hurts, you're crying. It doesn't happen to me that often, but on that trip, I count at least 5 where I just couldn't breathe.
It had to be more than that.
And it's like, stop, everybody. I can't breathe. I'm hurting. I have to go potty. Just all. So it was bad.
It was a solid trip. It was really good. Yeah.
I'm curious though, because one I discover from so many people that I have a privilege with whom to talk is that they will get out of their comfort zone, out of their area. They go on a mission trip, and every day, it's as long as they're in their devotions, they're in the Word, they're trying to fine-tune their heart and their spirit towards God, they are just hit every day with the love of the Lord through other people, through the people that they're associating with. They're on the trip in terms of their team, and they don't have that. They don't strive for that back home. So while they're down there, it's almost like they're inundated with love from a variety of different angles, and they're pouring out of themselves into the lives of these people whom they may not know, may not ever see again. And they come back just on fire. And then they're in home, and they get inundated with materialism and stuff. And it's all about you now. Whereas down on their mission trip, it was all about God. It was all about serving others, loving others by loving God, and vice versa. So tell me how that worked out for you in terms of you're on fire down there, and then you come back and it kind of fizzles out, and then you fell into this dark place. How did that come about? How did you find a way out of that dark place?
Well, I came home for the summer, and I came and talked to you and Karen Miller about this, and I was like, oh man, I'm ready to find a new college because God is not here. It's obvious. I have to go find him. And then I will never forget, you looked at me and said, what have you been doing to pursue him? And I was like, I have a biblical history and literature class that I have been in.
Oops.
And that really just burst my bubble right there. I was just like, oh crap. And so I decided not to transfer. I had 2 colleges picked out, one in Florida and one in Southern California. And
I wonder how you came to those.
And I was like, God's there. He's there.
Yeah, God's definitely in Hawaii. We just know he's there.
And so I ended up staying, and I was like, well, I will just get involved with the youth group and do stuff around here and try to find God and whatever. And I was planning on going to New Orleans, but I have a bum knee. And my freshman year, I just apparently broke my kneecap somewhere in freshman year. And I just kept making it worse, and I would fall downstairs, and it was just really bad. And so I couldn't go to New Orleans, and I was super bummed about that because I was planning on going for the summer, and I was like, yeah, I'll go to New Orleans and serve, and now I can't. And
you had a bum knee, and you had no idea how you got. Where'd my left arm go? It was there last night. I wake up. Man, I don't know.
Well, they kept telling me, they're like, oh, it's your tendons. Your tendons are bad or whatever. We'll just do physical therapy and they'll get better. And so that's what I dealt with this summer going into my sophomore year, which also led to, I was helping out with a youth group, and I was like, okay, well, I didn't get to go to New Orleans. This is kind of cool, hanging out with my friends and who are still in high school and whatever. Going to Applebee's every Wednesday night. Woo,
Love
party.
That. Yeah.
And then they were going to Detroit, and then like the doctors were like, your knee could shatter at any moment, so we would recommend that you don't go. And I was super bummed because I was like, I haven't been on a mission trip with Gabby and Molly in forever, and I just want to go so freaking bad. And so I just sat home. But the Lord really took that time to just kind of single me out, and he just was like, I had to give you a knee injury to get you to stop moving and listen to me. And so I had my knee surgery and stuff, and I was just laid up, and I was just, listening to the Lord. And like in that time, I really like became a prayer warrior. Like I couldn't be on that mission trip, but I was just praying for them all the time. And it was awesome to see God use that. And at that time, he just really laid it on my heart that I did need to like pursue him. And that was the summer of my going into sophomore year. And then this past summer, I went to Springhill. And I mean, sophomore year was pretty good. I think that I fooled myself thinking that I was really close with the Lord. And then after I did go to Springhill, the Lord, like, just revealed himself to me. And, like, within the first few days of being at Springhill, I was just like, oh, I've grown more in these past 3 or 4 days, week, than I have in my whole walk with Christ. This is amazing. And just... it was a radical summer for me. Just learning what it looks like to put yourself on the back burner and just love people the way Christ did, and to speak truth and learn grace, and to learn what it looks like to be a disciple to broken people.
So provide for me an example, if you will, what that looks like to put yourself on the back burner and loving others. How did that work out in your life?
Well, if you don't know what Springhill is, it is a Christian-run camp, and I worked in what was called TST, Teen Service Team. So these kids would come for 2 weeks, high schoolers, 9 through 12, and they would come for 2 weeks, do service projects in the morning or afternoon, whatever, and then they would also get to do the camp activities and whatnot. And so we would also do like devotions during the day, and like just fellowship with these kids. And like one instance, I had a girl that came to me at like midnight and wanted to talk, and I had to get up at 5 a.m. and I was like, oh wow, Lord.
Bad time.
Yeah, like please give me the strength. But she was just like broken down and needed to talk, and so I stayed up with her and talked with her. And just even like when these kids would be so broken and exhausted and tired, it's stepping up and sacrificing, yourself for these kids and their needs and whatnot. And it was just so cool. And the Lord really used that to stretch me and to pull me out of this phase where I was so self-absorbed. I loved it. I loved every moment, like serving these kids. And I think that's when I really learned what true love looks like the love of Christ. When you plug into God and pursue him and love him with everything inside of you, you can't help it but overflow with his love for people. And so like you're pursuing him, and then he's filling you with this love that just outpours to people, and like the only thing you want to do is love people. So you see these kids and they are like dying because they're so exhausted, and you're like, I want to take up their tray for them. Like I want to give them a hug. I want to pat them on the back. I want to tell them that they did great today at weed whacking or whatever it is. Like, and it's just an awesome feeling. And just even like then like pouring into their lives, and like you want them to know Jesus so badly because you see that brokenness that they carried to camp. And you want them to leave knowing Jesus, and not just knowing Jesus, but like Toby said, like something that I love about Springhill is that we try to reiterate to these kids that it's not a Jesus camp. Jesus is here, yes, but he's also back in their communities, and we encourage them constantly. Like when you go home, it will be so hard.